All right, let's get into a story that really pulls back the curtain on a powerful and honestly, a pretty painful psychological pattern. It all starts with a woman who came incredibly close to dying for love, and it left her with this one single burning question. So, this was the question a young woman named Trudy asked her therapist, and you can just feel the agony in it, right? She could not wrap her head around how a connection could feel so intense, so powerful on the physical level, but exist inside a relationship that was, for all intents and purposes, completely empty and destructive. And the context here is, well, it's shocking. She's asking this question after she intentionally drove her car off a cliff for a man who wasn't even returning her calls. To really understand how anyone gets to that point, we have to go way back to the beginning to see where this painful script for her life was first written. Trudy's story really kicks off where so many of ours do, in her family home. This is where, from a very, very young age, the ideas of love and pain got dangerously tangled together for her.
I mean, just look at this family dynamic. It's a perfect storm for what's to come. Her dad was basically a ghost, just making these quick pit stops at home. Her mom, meanwhile, was completely consumed by this desperate losing battle for his attention. So for Trudy, what did she learn? The only way to get any kind of validation was to be perfect, to achieve, and most of all, to never, ever make any trouble. She learned that love is something you have to earn from someone who is fundamentally distant. So that right there, that becomes her blueprint for love. In her mind, she saw her mother screaming and demanding, and saw that it failed. So she came to a simple conclusion: her mother was the problem. And this led her to make a quiet vow to herself that would end up defining every relationship she had for years.
And this is so crucial. She decided the problem wasn't that her father was unavailable. No, the problem was her mother's strategy. So her solution wasn't to, find a guy who was actually present. Her solution was to just give more of herself to another unavailable man, believing that her total self-sacrifice would work where her mother's demands had failed. So this belief system that she cooked up in her childhood, it created this tragic, self-defeating cycle that just played out again and again in all her romantic relationships. She basically took the script she learned at home and started acting it out on a new stage. You can just see the painful loop here, can't you? Every time a relationship failed, it just reinforced her core belief: I must not have been selfless enough. Which of course just drove her to try even harder, to give even more the next time around. And it was this exact pattern that led her straight to a man named Jim, a relationship that would push her to the absolute breaking point. I mean, you literally could not find a more unavailable man. He's married, he has 2 kids, his wife is pregnant, he had a whole life he had zero intention of leaving. But for Trudy, this wasn't a collection of red flags, oh no. This was the ultimate challenge. This was her chance to finally prove that her kind of love could conquer anything. And just like that, her entire world shrank until it was only big enough for him. She dropped everything: school, friends, her own hobbies and interests, all for the chance of getting a stolen hour with Jim. She poured every ounce of her energy into him, completely mistaking the adrenaline rush of winning his time for actual genuine love. And this, for her, was everything. It was the validation she'd craved her whole life. See, I'm not like my mother, making all these demands. I'm winning him over with pure selflessness. In her head, she was finally succeeding where her mother had failed, creating this powerful bond built entirely on her own giving. But here's the thing about illusions, especially ones built on something as flimsy as convenience. They have a way of shattering. And when summer came and their easy excuse to meet at school was gone, her entire fantasy just fell apart. He just vanished. Poof, no call, no text, no explanation. And then, weeks later, the final, brutal blow, she sees him on the street, smiling with his wife and his newborn baby. His real life. And that crisis, that desperate act that followed, is what finally forced a moment of incredibly painful but necessary clarity in therapy. And that's it. That's the aha moment, the absolutely shocking realization that her whole strategy of self-sacrifice was just the other side of the same coin as her mother's angry demands. Both were just desperate, frantic attempts to control an unavailable man, and both ultimately led to the exact same heartbreak. Trudy's story is such a powerful, if painful, example of a pattern that affects so many people. And this brings us to the core psychology behind this whole self-destructive cycle.
So this is the core idea right here. It's an attraction to the struggle itself, that emotional roller coaster, the anxiety, the drama, the constant yearning. It feels like deep, profound love. To really get our heads around this, we can look at how the ancient Greeks actually defined two very different kinds of love. Okay, so let's break this down. On one side, you have eros. Think passionate, chaotic love. It's built on obsession, tension, and the thrill of the struggle. On the other side, you have agape. This is that steady, committed love built on things like partnership, security, and mutual respect. Now, women who love too much are often, without realizing it, addicted to the intense, high-stakes feelings of eros. The calm comfort of agape feels, well, it feels foreign, maybe even boring. They end up mistaking the suffering and the struggle as proof of how deep their love really is. And this addiction to the drama of eros creates a pretty clear pattern, doesn't it? That knot in your stomach gets misinterpreted as butterflies of love. A kind, stable partner who doesn't create any drama feels dull. Sex stops being about mutual pleasure and becomes a tool, a performance designed to win him over or fix him. And your own excitement becomes totally dependent on it. But for Trudy, just recognizing and breaking the cycle, that was only half the battle. The next part was arguably even harder, learning how to actually live without the familiar chaos she'd known her whole life. And this right here, this was the real turning point. She finally flipped the script. Instead of wondering, does he like me, she started asking, do I even like him? For the first time, she was starting to value herself more than the addictive thrill of the chase. And here is the great paradox. After a lifetime of struggle, peace just felt weird, awkward. Her tolerance for actual intimacy was incredibly low because she'd literally never experienced it. Think about it, all of her relationship skills were sharpened for a battle, not for quiet companionship. This chart just nails the irony perfectly, doesn't it? For someone who is used to chaos, a peaceful, stable relationship can actually create more internal anxiety than a painful one. The familiar pain feels exciting, it feels intense, while the unfamiliar quiet of a healthy relationship just feels awkward or even deeply unsettling. When you boil it all down, Trudy's journey shows us that recovery isn't just about stopping a bad pattern. It's about learning how to tolerate the quiet comfort of a good one. It's about retraining your entire emotional system to find that peaceful, stable love, agape, just as compelling as the painful passion of eros. And really, this question is the final hurdle, isn't it? It gets right to the heart of the challenge, learning to move from just surviving pain to actually thriving in peace. And figuring out the answer to that is the real key to breaking the cycle for good.